Okay, now, thank you very much. I wanted to share that with you because it introduces a number of concepts, particularly in the arena of cheating at cards. First things first, you've got to know who you're playing against, which is why some of the best poker players don't need to cheat at all. They're masters of reading the body language of the other players. However, how would it look if you could cheat at cards? I'm sure most of you here are familiar with that wonderful book written by S.W. Erdnase, the expert at the card table. Although it's a very old book, first published in 1902, if no other book on sleight of hand with cards was written since that time, I think it's fair to say we would have had the definitive book on card handling, card cheating. Now, when you consider how card magic has developed over the last 110 years, it's staggering, isn't it? And it's interesting to see the development of sleight of hand with cards since 1902. And what I'm going to show you now is something that I first saw when I was 15 years old. So I was at a party the other night and somebody asked me, Mike, you're pretty good with a deck of cards, but is there anything that you've seen that's ever blown you away? And it reminded me of my first mentor in card magic, and his name was Cy Enfield. How many of you are familiar with Cy Enfield? Right. Wonderful magician. Some of you may know of him from the movie that he directed, which was the film Zulu. And I used to go to Valerie's Patisserie in Old Compton Street back in the mid-70s with Alan Allen. And we go in the coffee shop, and right in the back of the coffee shop, there'll be the three of us doing card tricks. Okay? And I was like 15 at the time. And Cy Enfield used to show me some wonderful things. And here's one of the things he showed me. And I want you to watch this very closely. You want to shuffle these for me, by the way. I know there's a couple of odd nominee cards in there. Are these extra jokers? Okay, if you could remove those for me, that'd be really interesting. That'd be good, thank you. And give the cards a very good shuffle. All right, so now we've got a legitimately full deck, okay? Splendid. All right, I'll just remove the four aces just to save time. And I'll try and replicate exactly what I saw all those years ago. All right, perfect. Happy with that shuffle?
Yeah, happy with that.
Bravo. Okay. He asked me to shuffle the deck, just like you did, and then he told me to place the four aces on top of the deck, square them up nice and neatly. It's almost like yesterday, I can remember it very clearly. And then he proceeded to cut the cards a few times. Now, he said something very interesting. He said when the average person shuffles a deck of cards, an honest player that is, they actually think they're mixing the cards up. Now, in the mind of a professional card shark, every shuffle is a stack of some kind. The distinction at work here, my friend, is that a card shark knows the position of one or two cards prior to the shuffle. And in the act of shuffling, reposition those cards so that in the course of dealing, they end up with the winning hand. It's a very simple concept intellectually, but to put it into practice, that's an entirely different thing altogether, as I've just done. Of course, in gambling circles, they say no matter how many times you shuffle the deck, always cut the cards. I stack for a five-handed game, and the fifth card delivers the first ace. Now, because this was a crooked shuffle, it allows me to deal fairly. And as you can see, each and every card is being dealt off the top. And that, my friends, is probably the best thing I've ever seen done with a deck of cards. Now, this has been in my mind ever since the age of 15, and you know, I have to pay tribute to Seinfeld because he really got me inspired with card magic, and also inspired to really look at what does it take to become a master of the deck of cards, especially to do something of this type, to shuffle a deck of cards and reposition cards so that when you deal, you get the winning hand. Now think about this for a moment as a concept. If you were to do this in a game situation, do you want to shuffle these again for me? Dealing yourself the four aces might win you some money, but not a lot of money. Do you want to know why? Well, you're not encouraging the other players to bet heavily. However, imagine if you could extend your skills to an entirely different level and encourage the other players in the game to improve and bet heavily. And I guess in Texas Hold'em that would come in very handy, wouldn't it? So let's try this as an exercise. I'm not going to work with a pat hand like the four aces this time. Instead, we're going to work with, say, the four queens. Okay, and I'm hoping we've got all four of them here. Yes, we do. Here we go. Splendid. Now, one of the most interesting things that I learned with card cheating is that most cheaters today aren't lone rangers. And what that means is they tend to work in teams now, and they would never deal themselves the winning hand. It's a way of deferring suspicion onto themselves. So they throw the give the winning hand to somebody else in the game. For example, my friend over here. Okay? So with the 4 queens, I should point out a great card sharp by the name of Dad Stevens, the legendary Dad Stevens, once said, you would never need more than, say, a 3 of a kind to get the money. But for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to work with all 4 queens. Okay, and I'm going to attempt to stack the deck so that I don't get the winning hand. Let's try this shuffle here, but my friend does. And I really want you to notice this shuffle here. Come in a little closer. I want you to notice how the cards are being mixed up. Can you see them all being mixed together? Does that look good for you? I'm going to give the cards one more shuffle. And notice how the cards are being really woven together, exactly as you would in your own home game. Okay. And now when you shuffled earlier, you were only concerned with mixing the cards. But given that we're working with the 4 queens now, try to position them for a 6-handed game with my man getting the winning hand. And once again, a very fair shuffle, all the cards coming off the top. And so you get the pair of queens there. And there's one thing I want you to keep in mind. The player sitting on 4 queens isn't my partner. He's the sucker we're taking to the cleaner. My partner is this gentleman right here. He sat on 4 kings. But remember, in cheating at cards, you can't trust anybody. I've got Okay. So you've got a little bit of a distinction there.